Simon, good to see you. Welcome back to Camera Dads.
You too, Phil.
Don't know what episode this is, don't know what season it is, but we decided that doesn't matter. It's good to
Yeah,
see you, and
agreed.
let's
Yeah,
let's
who's
hang out.
counting? Who knows
Nobody,
anymore? Yes,
nobody.
exactly. We're just having a good time.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of introduce a little bit because we're changing things up. We're
Mhm.
trying something new with the show. Um, so for people that are listening or watching on YouTube, first of all, thank you. And instead of having a predetermined topic where we sort of make bullet points or do some prep work, you know, we're trying something that's just off the cuff and seeing what we can get out of this podcast by just having a totally unscripted, unplanned
Yeah.
um, hangout chat
Yeah,
with
basically.
each other, which is what we wanted to do with this show kind of from the get-go. And I think we're trying this to see if we can find a groove there.
Yeah, and so like our motivation from the start, like years and years ago, was we just like hanging out with each other, but we don't live in the same state. So we like hanging out, we like talking cameras, and we're dads. So that's kind of the premise. And we've tried a couple different things because we have to fit this show into our lives, and because we have kids and our wives have jobs, like that we got to find a way to slot this in. And so um, Phil actually came up with this concept, and we're going to try it and see how it goes. And if it works, great, we'll keep doing it. If not, we'll tweak as needed. But ultimately, like we're here just to hang out, and this is the way in which we hang out. And listeners and viewers, thank you for hanging out with us. Love to have you along for the ride. But ultimately, this is just the way Phil and I are hanging out with each other because we don't see each other in person that often and talking about a subject we both enjoy. So that's that's what we're doing here.
So here's what's going to happen. And I'll tell you kind of how I got this idea because I don't know if I even explained it to you. I, as I'm just going about my life, I tend to think of things that would be interesting to maybe research myself later or a camera or photography related thing, idea, topic, whatever that would be cool to discuss with you.
Hmm.
But I don't see you very often, and we know we don't do this show on a regular basis. So I thought, well, I just started sort of putting a pin in all these ideas, and I just leave myself a little voice memo. I just take my watch and I'm like, camera dad's idea, blah blah blah. And I thought, well, let's find a way that we can both do this. Just go about our lives and collect ideas that we think would be really cool to bounce off of each other, as if as if we were hanging out and something, someone just thought of something. We're like, oh, hey, there's this thing I wanted to ask you about. So
Yep.
the idea is to kind of mimic a real life sort of serendipitous
Yeah. I'm
conversation. So
totally.
what we've done is Simon has listed a bunch of his ideas and sent them to me via my wife, and they're now cut up into little paper strips in a hat, and I don't know what they are.
Mine are in a
So
box.
that's
I
not a
couldn't find
hat.
a
Come
yep.
on.
Well, I'm
All
wearing a
right.
hat, but
Okay. Well, so I've done the same thing. I had, I don't know, 8 or 9 ideas that I just picked up for the last couple of weeks. I sent them to Simon's wife, who cut the little strips out and put them in a box. So that's what we're gonna do. So if I would like to pull first one of your ideas, if that's
sure.
okay.
Yep.
And
And by the way, just to make sure we are on the same page and our listeners and viewers are, we don't have a time limit. We're just going to talk until we're kind of done with that topic. These shows might end up being more like 20, 30 minutes instead of an hour, or they might be an hour. We'll see. But we just want to let the conversation go where it needs to and not be confined with bullet points and other things, which I think I actually like having a guide, but I also don't like that then restricts us. And then we kind of have that roadmap to follow. So I'm excited for this new format. And I think it'll be at least fun to try, but hopefully fun to listen to. And
yeah,
at the end of the day, a fun way to hang out with Phil. So
that's the real goal. And I'm with you there. I enjoy the bullet points of a good prepared presentation. or a good discussion.
Mhm.
But if I'm being completely honest, I do feel like that hampered us sometimes from just enjoying hanging out
Yeah,
and talking about whatever it is we were talking about. Because in my mind, we had to hit a certain list of things, or I
right.
had a question written down that I had to ask you.
Well,
So
and
trying
we
something that just hopefully plays more naturally and see, I don't know.
yeah, yeah. And to be honest, like we've reviewed a couple products. I think we reviewed a tripod, maybe we reviewed a couple cameras, GoPro, Fuji, and there are specific things that I want to hit, but then at the same time, it's not just like we're just hanging out, sitting in our living rooms talking about this thing. So, um, uh, enough of that. I think it's
Yeah,
great. I'm super excited, Phil. I'm glad you thought of this, and you even have a hat.
I have a
It's like
Carmen San
Carmen
Diego
Sandiego.
hat.
All right.
So, and it's
Beats my box.
there
So,
you go. You can see that.
yep.
There's
Yeah.
all of Simon's ideas, and I haven't seen these. So,
Listeners, he's actually
got,
like picking something out
yeah,
of the hat.
see if I can get a little paper crumple. No,
Eh.
can't hear it. Okay, it is one piece of paper.
Okay.
Holiday photo tips for chaos with kids. Holiday. Okay, all right, all right. So this was your idea.
It is. Yes.
Photo, holiday photo tips for chaos with kids.
Yeah. And
We
by the
did
way,
we did a show
uh,
years ago when we were first getting started about, and maybe we've hit this kind of more than once, but we've talked about taking photos at family events and
yes, that
taking holiday photos.
and one thing we ended up on was like kind of the opposite of chaos. We talked a lot. I'm a big fan of the group photo with a tripod, and that's kind of the opposite of just holiday chaos with the kids. So, and to like my idea here was not like I've got 10 tips. It's more like what do you do? I don't know that I have a good answer for this, but I'm curious what you think, Phil. You've got three kids. I've got two. And at the holidays, pick your holiday. It doesn't matter. July 4th, Thanksgiving, it doesn't matter. Birthdays. But when you've got like kids around, like a bunch of kids, it's kind of chaotic. Like, what do you do? How do you get photos of everything? Or not even like how to, but just I don't know,
No,
what would you say to this?
there's just a lot that goes bouncing on in my head when I read that, and
Like, dude, we were
I
at your house one time and the kids decided to have an impromptu Nerf gun fight inside
mhm.
in your house. And like that is chaos. What on how are you supposed to photograph that? So I've interrupted you enough. Sorry
No,
about
you're
that.
good. I read that slip and I see the word holiday and I get hung up on Christmas
Okay.
because that's just, I don't know, that's where my head goes, but I don't want to limit my kind of thoughts on it to Christmas. I don't know. So,
Phil has no tips.
no, you make a really good point about the fact that we were here for some gathering and then there was this Nerf gun fight. So I'm revisiting the photos in my head and I think you took a photo of me
Hmm.
with a hamper on my head.
Yes, I remember that.
Um, if I would like to try to remember to, we could put that in the show because
I'll
it's a
see if I
good
can
one.
find it. Yeah,
If we can find it, we should go back and do that because we don't have producers to do that
we do
stuff.
not.
But okay, okay, you specifically use the word chaos, and I think I'm going to focus on that because you can do what you like to do. I think you have a default of we have to make sure we get the family photo.
I do
And
like
there's
the
nothing
family
wrong with
photo.
that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
please don't think that I'm putting you in a box like the one that's supposed to be a hat.
Yep.
But don't feel like I'm putting you in a box saying that you only um, take group photos because you absolutely don't. But you make it a point that if there's a gathering that there will be a couple group photos.
I do, yes. But those
It,
are in terms of
but
quantity, those are like a very small percentage of the total photos that I end up with in my Lightroom catalog from any given holiday event, no matter what
yeah,
the holiday is.
and that's why I like that you use the word chaos.
Mhm.
And when I think of that, I think I end up just having okay, there's a little bit of planning that actually goes into that for me. Um, in this type of scenario, I would have two cameras on me. I'd have my phone and my DSLR, and I would hopefully intentionally put my 35 millimeter prime lens on the camera because it's the best sort of all-purpose lens that I have
It is a really
for
good
this kind
lens.
of thing.
Mhm.
So I would probably be at least that much prepared in the sense that I would like to take some photos at this thing. But
Well,
otherwise, I just kind of watch, try to be
well,
like a fly on the wall and watch whatever the kids are doing, embrace what they're doing, and try to get some pictures of what's happening hopefully without interfering.
so let me touch on something you said, Phil, which for the listeners or viewers who might not be familiar with this, when Phil said it's 35 millimeter prime lens, that lens, if you're not super familiar with camera principles, that has what we call a very fast. It's a very fast lens. It's got a very large aperture. In technical terms, it's an f1.8, and you don't have to know what that means from like a physical lens construction standpoint. But what that means from a practical standpoint is amidst holiday chaos, whether it's inside or outside, that lens lets you get a really fast photo. So if the kids are literally running around, you can shoot a photo at say 1/100th of a second or 1/125th. Um, and it's letting in so much light that the end result is more likely to be a good photo, assuming your autofocus can keep up as well. So like if you have a DSLR, to the anyone out there, if you have a DSLR like you got on a Black Friday sale or something, and you're like, man, my photos, they're just not turning out great. And every time I take a picture of the kids, they're running around, it's blurry. Like, what's up with that? If you get the lens that Phil has, a 35 1.8, and they make them for every camera, um, your photos will almost immediately get less blurry because the camera is able to let so much more light in. And for someone who is in that position, who's like, man, my photos just aren't turning out. I maybe have a DSLR, but it's not working. I would say find a 35 millimeter lens with a fast aperture f1.8. You can get them used for cheap. You can even rent them. Phil, I think you rented one for like $10 or something, right?
Yeah, you can rent this lens for whatever camera you have. You can rent it for a day or a couple of days for
Yeah.
10, $15.
Yeah.
It's absolutely worth doing if I go back to that. How would I be prepared to take some photos at something like this?
Hmm.
I'd make sure I have that lens. And if you don't own one and you want to give something like this a try, you could certainly rent one or even borrow one if you've got a
Yeah.
buddy that has stuff like that.
Well, and Phil, you said something that so I'm going to encourage people to do, to like listen carefully to what Phil said because
Why, thank you.
I've been at family gatherings where one of the parents of the kids wants to get photos, but they're not really, they're just sort of sitting on the couch watching, and the kids are running by and the parents aren't involved. And I would say, like, you don't have to spend your whole Thanksgiving or Christmas or 4th of July weekend running after the kids, but I would say, like, take 5 minutes and just follow the kids around. Even if it's just with your phone, just like follow the kids around and maybe get on their level so that if they're smaller kids, like, bend down and get more on their eye level, and then take kind of capture them in the moment doing what they're doing, as opposed to a wide shot from the couch where you're not really part of the action. Get those point of view shots so that if the kids are crawling under the bed or jumping on the bed or running around the Christmas tree or whatever, you're in the mix. And then when you're looking at those photos later, they have a sense of kinetic energy. They capture that chaos in a way that it just doesn't feel the same if your photos are all like from 15 feet away across the room because you're just gonna sit on the couch the whole time. And there's nothing like it's the holidays, right? I like to just chill and catch up with the grown-ups. But I would tell someone if you want to capture photos amidst the holiday chaos, be part of that chaos, even if it's for just 5 minutes. And even if you don't have a DSLR, just get your phone and follow the kids around and be in the mix a little bit. And your photos will likely turn out better. The memories you're going to capture are likely going to be better.
You know what? And in this case, I think because we've talked about how modern phones are absolutely stunning cameras.
Hmm.
And if this is what you're trying to do, I think having a big camera, like a DSLR or even a small like Fuji or something, might even be just overkill for just what you're wanting to make sure you have some memories of. Like if you got your phone and it's a modern iPhone or a Samsung or whatever, and if you do what you did, if you what you described, be a part of whatever the kids are doing, you know, put yourself aside and be instead of thinking, "Ah, I'm too old to go crawling under the thing," or man, I don't want to
uh,
play with balloons or whatever it might be. Put that aside and just do what they do or be close enough that you're going to get photos that when you were talking, I almost interrupted because I wanted to use the word alive.
yeah.
You get, and again, like Sim, like you said, there's nothing wrong with a wider photo of a family gathering from the couch because those are great also because you're going to see like all those kids running around doing whatever. But I think you'll get a different style of photo and you'll appreciate the results if you actually try to get up close. And if that means getting involved and playing the game or just getting in their way a little
Hmm.
bit and then say, just ignore me. I'm just laying here on the floor. Don't worry about me.
Yeah.
And when you go back and look at them, you'll have some photos that they're going to jog great memories.
I think you're right. Yeah. And you'll be glad that you took that time to get in the mix and be part of the action and do it.
Yeah.
Um, I would also like one other suggestion I would say is like try and find a sense of context. So don't worry if there's Christmas tree lights in the background, embrace it because then later on you'll be like, oh, that was Christmas. Or if they're lighting off fireworks at 4th of July, embrace that. Don't shy away from those elements that illustrate a sense of time because those are kind of cool to look back at later as you're flipping through your photos. You can immediately see if there's like yellow decorations in the background that might be for Thanksgiving. That's a dead giveaway that it was Thanksgiving. And so look for those opportunities to add that sense of context to the photo as well. So
Yeah.
these are good
If I could say
ideas, Phil.
one more thing that just came up and
Yeah, dude, that's what we're
um
doing.
yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
say it.
Um let let it happen. Let the event and the children just be and do what they do. And like your comment about the 4th of July. My mind immediately goes to, oh, got to get some good pictures of the fireworks.
Mhm.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
No, you don't,
No one cares
because
about the fireworks.
unless you have some really nice gear and some thorough planning, your fireworks photos are going to be crap and you're never going to look at them again. You're not going to care. Sorry. I'm talking to myself too, because I have thousands of
Yep,
them.
yep. And you think, oh man,
Instead,
but if that look at that big explosion of the thing and like, no, nope,
no,
it's
no.
no.
We were at Disney a year at Disney World in Florida, and they had the whole fireworks show over the castle. And I have hundreds of photos of those fireworks, and
Yeah.
none of them are good.
But
But
imagine like if you would have turned around and gotten pictures of your kids' reactions to the
mm,
fireworks. You wouldn't see the fireworks. And maybe you did, I don't know. But that's the kind of thing that captures the fun of the chaos of the event.
yeah, in that situation, we were so crowded you couldn't
Yeah.
move. So like that wasn't even an option. But
Right.
what I picture kids on the 4th of July is them getting to light fireworks. And so I immediately go to how can I take pictures of the kids lighting fireworks and having such a good time doing that. And so my head immediately just put me in this place of there's a kid with a what do you call those? Like a punk,
Yeah,
the
yeah, to
the
light the
sort of slow
fireworks.
burn light
Yeah.
sticks, or a lighter or a match, and they're holding a sparkler, and they're just for those of you that are audio, I'm just holding my fingers up, kind of touching them. They're just about to light that sparkler. And you wouldn't think about that. But if you have a photo of your kid putting a sparkler to a flame and their face is in that photo, or maybe halfway in the photo, um, that is going to jog a memory. And
Totally.
that's what these are like really mean to me is these holiday photos is trying to split between taking the photos that I have made myself feel obligated to take and just capturing what's happening. Because those ones, like if you capture what's happening from a different perspective and really put the emphasis on what is happening for the children,
Hmm.
you know, become a child in your mind for a minute and think, why is this moment so cool for them? Because they're lighting a sparkler and then it's glowing in their, in their face. And you're like, whoa. Or because you rented some inflatable water park for your backyard and
Hmm.
they're splashing down the thing. Get down on the ground and take a picture of them coming right at you down the slide.
Yeah.
Your phone will be fine. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
if I
it's
distill the whole thing to me, it's become a child and participate at their level. And you'll get shots that you wouldn't otherwise. And I think those jog the memories, and that's kind of where I land on this.
Phil, I agree 100%. And I like hearing your thoughts on this. That was good. That was good. Good
Yeah, nice
topic. Good
question.
topic discussion there. You want to do another one?
Yeah, what have we been on for like 20 minutes?
All right, let's do one more.
Let's do another one.
Okay. Unless this only takes 30 seconds and we'll see. All right. So here's the box, the hat. It's the container.
See, I don't know. I'm nervous because I don't know what you're gonna pull out.
I don't either. I haven't read these. Sneaking photos of other people. Let's talk about incognito photos. Taking photos of somebody without their permission, and then what do you do? Street photography, etc. Ooh, Phil, this is a good one.
Okay.
You want to hear my thoughts, or you want to go
No,
first?
gut reaction. Go.
Okay, so um, I thought that the that street photography was something that you had to do to level up your skills as a photographer. I got my DSLR in 2012 and I wanted to get better at photography. So I took pictures of the world around me. And I work on a college campus. So I would take pictures of like the flower beds and the pond and the other things like that. And I would watch YouTube videos from I mean 2012, 2013, and a lot of YouTubers would talk about street photography. So I thought that that's what you were supposed to do, that if you didn't do street photography, you weren't a real photographer. And I tried that a couple times. I went to the student union with my Nikon D200 and my 50 millimeter 1.8 lens and just tried getting pictures of people eating lunch because I thought you were supposed to. It may be uncomfortable and it felt weird every single time, even though it's a public place. Just
Hmm.
everyone is like there's um, no you can do that legally. You don't have to ask people's permission. But despite that, I felt really weird and uncomfortable. So then I tried going to like downtown Stillwater where I live and like walking around taking pictures of like, oh, there's someone walking next to me. I should take their picture because it's street photography. Dude, I hate that. And I don't use that word lightly. Like I can't stand that for that is not my comfort zone. And I I know some people do it. I can't I what I've come to realize is I do not care at all about taking pictures
Okay.
of other people from the standpoint of growth as a photographer. I don't care if someone else does it. I don't really care if someone else takes my picture, but um, I do not need to feel like I'm not a good photographer if I don't take pictures of people on the street. So that's my gut reaction. Do you want me to read it again or do you remember it
No,
enough?
no, no, I appreciate that.
Okay.
And it's interesting to me that you framed it in such a way that your entire reaction and thoughts about street photography are inside this box of leveling up your photography.
Yeah, that's
Like
what I thought you were
everything that
supposed to
you
do.
said was inside the frame of I have to do this to level up and become a better photographer because it's what you do.
Right. Like on YouTube, these people are talking about street photography all the time. So I guess that's what you're just supposed to do. And that was my thought process 12 years ago, 13 years ago. It's not how I think now, but that's what I thought at the time.
Yeah, and I totally get that. And so this idea didn't really come from me. I was listening to a podcast called No Dumb Questions,
Okay.
and it's by Destin Sandlin, who does the Smarter Every Day
Okay.
YouTube. Most people have probably heard of him. And actually, that podcast was the inspiration for my idea to sort of restructure this one because him and his co-host, they just talk, and it's a
Mhm.
really good listen. And they spent some time talking about this, taking photos of people without their permission and kind of how that can make you feel icky. And I get the feeling that's how it makes you feel.
Totally icky. Yeah.
And but they also had some interesting thoughts on it. One of the things that they kind of zeroed in on, that Destin, the host, um, was these photos that his dad took ages ago of this actually fits kind of nicely into our other thing that we were talking about with lots of people and chaos being around. So they were talking about taking his dad having taken photos of things, events, but doing it in such a way that it didn't make people pose, didn't make people aware that a photo was being taken.
Okay.
And the example that I'm recollecting from their podcast was an event at a church where um, a, all the husbands were doing some kind of construction project uh, for a new like family hall or something, and all the wives were preparing a meal for the men when they were going to take their dinner break or whatever. And there was photos that Dustin's dad had taken of all the guys just sitting at this table eating a meal without saying, "Hey, look over here,
Hmm.
everybody say cheese," kind of thing. Nobody had any idea that those photos were being taken. And then years and years later, he discovered these photos and he seemed to really appreciate the fact that they had been taken because they jogged so many memories for him about the people in the photos, and what was happening around them, he said that he would send them to the people in the photos that he recognized, and everybody's immediate reaction was, "Where did you get this?"
Hmm.
Like I remember that. When was this photo taken? Like, how did you get this? And then they all have kind of a positive memory of that event. That's one take on this idea of
What's Phil's take?
what did I even call it? Taking photos without permission or
Yeah,
something?
look, incognito photos,
Yeah,
taking some,
incognito photos.
yeah, somebody without their permission, and then what do you do?
Yeah.
What's
And I've
Phil's
thought
take?
about this, and it does toe that line of, for me, it toes that line of street photography, which I have never done. I've thought about it. I thought about it in the same context that you have
Hmm.
with it's one of those things you're supposed to do as a photographer. But I've never actually tried it. Now, what comes to mind for me is photos that I have taken and then maybe felt bad that I took them or felt guilty for having taken them because it was someone else's kid at a sports game, and I didn't have their
Yeah, yeah,
express
sure.
permission. I specifically recall, and I'll admit to doing this because it's real. And we were at some soccer game once, and the couple next to us on the sidelines, they had a baby. And I was like, the little feet and little toes were like
Yeah,
bouncing around. And so I took a picture of the kids' toes. And then I showed the dad. I'm like, hey, I took this picture, thought it was kind of cute. Do you want it? And he just kind of like, no, that's
yeah,
weird.
yeah.
And I so like, oh, hmm,
Uh-huh.
sorry. And I felt awful. I deleted it immediately. And I part of that is still in my head when it comes to this idea of how do you how do you take photos of somebody else without asking? Or should you take photos of somebody else asking?
Yeah, so um I think I see where you're coming from or where the Destin on the podcast was coming from. But to me, there's a time and a place that is fundamentally different about that experience versus today. So I,
Oh, sorry. Do you mean Destin's
yeah,
experience with
Destin's
like
experience, right,
what
from like
like
decades ago.
30 years ago my dad took photos
Right,
of
right, right.
okay.
Because today the way the relationship that people have with photos, especially photos with kids, is I would argue quite different than anywhere up to 20 years ago, and maybe even like 10 years ago, because nobody knows what's gonna, up until recently, say the past 15 years, if you had a photo of some random people or photo of kids, like just playing in the park or playing in the street or something, you couldn't do much with that. But now, if I like that photo
Yeah.
that you're talking about, I don't know what's going on through that guy's mind, but if that were me, if I were sitting there at a baseball game and some dude next to me just like took pictures of my kid's feet, I would feel like my experience, like my space was violated.
Yep.
And because this guy, what's he going to do with them? Is he going to post
Mhm.
them on his Instagram? Is he going to sell them? He's going to make money off them. Now, it, like literally, Phil, is that photo going to get used to train AI?
Yeah, absolutely. And I
Um,
tried to be straight with the guy
oh
because
yeah,
he
yeah, and I've done
hit
it
me like
too.
a
Like I've
brick
done it
wall.
too.
Like, Phil, you should not have done that.
Yeah.
And so I said, it's gone. I deleted it. I showed him like it's not
Mhm.
on the camera anymore. And
Yeah.
I won't do that again.
Right. And so I guess that's my I'm really, really cautious when it comes to um, any sort of photos of people who I don't know, because I'm not on. I deleted my Meta account. I don't know
Right.
if when we talked once about what to do with photos and social media, and at the time that was probably 5, 6 years ago. We were, I think, both on Facebook. I have since deleted my Meta account, so like no Facebook, no Instagram, no WhatsApp, like my account is gone, and all the media that I had on that account is gone. On any of those accounts is gone, because I don't want that in my life, and I don't want pictures of my kids out there. And I found myself telling people like, if I'm in a public place and I take a picture of my kids and I accidentally like someone else's kid is in the photo too, I feel this urge to say like, it's not going online.
Hmm. Hmm.
This won't go on Instagram. And I will delete it if you want me to, but I was just trying to get my own kid. And I feel like there's this disclaimer I have to say all the time now. I don't literally because I don't go out and take pictures of random people, but the nature of how we relate to photos today is, I would argue, fundamentally different than it was at a time before this was also public.
Yeah,
And
that's a
that changes how I view, even if, like, if I was into street photography, which I'm not, I think I would want to go up and explain to people what I'm doing with these photos and what will not be done with these photos. So I did a client session a couple probably about a month and a half ago. A guy called me up, or he messaged me through my website, and he said, "Hey, I'm it's our kid's first birthday. I want to get Mother's Day photos for my wife. It's her first time or her first ever Mother's Day with our young child." And I said, "Sure, that's fine." We talked about it, and he goes, "I got it." And I told him, I was like, "I'm not on social media, so your kid won't, none of these photos will go online." And by the way, I did not know these people. Um, and I said, "None of these will go online." And he said, "Great, thank you. I don't want any pictures of my kid online at all. In fact," he said, "I've noticed you have photos of your clients on your website without their names. And there's a little line in my contract that says, I agree that I will let Simon use some of these photos anonymously on the website." And he said, "I would like none of these photos to go on your website." And I was like, "Done. I totally respect that." So even though my website is not on social media, it's just a website. The guy did not want photos of his kid on the internet at all.
yeah.
And I like completely get that. And I have removed all photos of my kid from my accounts because it's all gone. But like that's how I look at this question of incognito photos. Today, so much goes through my mind when I think about photos that are being taken of anybody without their knowledge. It might be legal, but I don't know what's happening to those photos. I don't know the motivation behind the person taking those photos, and I I don't want to participate in
Yeah, and I agree, I pretty much agree with all of that. And this is kind of the same conclusion that Destin and his friend, and I'm sorry, I forget his name, Matt
That's
maybe,
okay.
that they came to, that there has been a fundamental change
Hmm. Okay.
between, when you and I took photos when we were, well, I know I did. I had a camera when we were kids. I don't know if you had
I did.
like
Yeah.
a,
I
a
had a
point and shoot
110
something.
camera with
Yeah,
one.
yeah. So down here in the bowels of this bookshelf, I have photos. I have prints of those photos. But that's the only place I have them.
Hmm.
And it was just the grumpy old man here says it was a different time back then, and we didn't have the internet. But think about it this way. The desire to take photos of something in that sense hasn't necessarily changed, but the world of social media and the internet and all of that has made photographers consider, like, this conversation wouldn't be happening
Hmm.
if, and I don't want to sound like a grumpy old man, but whatever, if social media didn't exist, then we wouldn't really be having this conversation.
Yeah, maybe.
Not as much anyway. There wouldn't be that whole I really need to be cognizant of what I might do with these photos or what other people might think I might do with these photos.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I
20,
agree.
30 years ago, what could you do?
There's a movie that came out years ago called 1 Hour Photo with Robin Williams, and
Uh-huh.
it really goes dark into
Hmm.
this. And the gist of it is he works at a 1 hour photo lab, and this is like late 90s, and he starts this very creepy stalking style relationship with a family who drops off photos of their family to get developed. And it's a creepy movie.
Hmm.
Not recommending it. but but I one of the takeaways from that movie for me is like even back when there was not the social media landscape that we have today, um, it was still like you there this question was still something that was an issue, even if people weren't consciously grappling with it. When you dropped your photos off to be developed at the grocery store, and then it would come back a couple days later, a human looked at those photos. Like somebody saw them, even if it was just briefly, to put them in a packet and then mail them back to you. But like some human laid hands on that film that you didn't know. What did they do with it? Did they make duplicates? What if they saw
Yeah,
a picture
they
of your kids and they were like, "Oh, these kids look cute," or these feet of the kids or whatever, and now your photos are out there somewhere that probably in a drawer because there was no digital. But it's just across the board, I am uncomfortable with this entire concept of taking photos of somebody without their I'm like reading the slip now.
no, go for it.
Without their
I don't know where
permission.
we started either.
But again, like that's me. I know a lot of people feel very differently, and I respect that. If someone's like, "Well, I don't care. I got nothing," like, fine. Like, I don't. I want you to do what works for you. This is just where I'm coming from on this.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. And I kind of have a couple more lightning round thoughts
All right,
on
bring it
that one.
on.
And maybe if people have thoughts
Oh,
on these, we'd love to hear it in the comments
totally.
on
Yep.
YouTube. Um, a couple years ago, right after the Cybertruck first came out,
Yeah.
um, we saw one here in town, and this guy had taken it to a lake, and he just parked it off the side of the little gravel road, and there was some people hanging around checking it out. He was super nice about it. My son was fishing at the lake, and he called me and said, "Hey, Dad, there's a Cybertruck over here." Anyway, I have my two daughters in the car with me, and we go over there and we check it out. He lets me sit in it and look around, and then I asked him to take a photo of the three of us standing with his truck, and he was totally cool to do that. And then I put a photo of me and the girls standing in front of the Cybertruck on Reddit with a post saying, "Hey, there's a Cybertruck in town. This guy was nice enough to let us take a look at it." And the comments were almost immediately and entirely, "Why would you post pictures of girls on the internet?"
Whoa, seriously?
It's absolutely serious.
Wow. But it was your kids and they were just
It was
standing in a
me
public
and
park.
my children standing next to a truck at a public park. And
Wow.
the comments were like, essentially, "Why didn't you blur their faces?" And that,
Oh.
like, I never, like,
Yeah.
why? What are you talking about? There's a new car that came out. We saw one and we took our picture in
Right.
front of it. Like, what is wrong with you? But in some
Do you
sense,
think
they
they had a
also have a
point?
valid point.
Yeah.
Because, and now back to 1 hour photo. If you're into sort of the creepy, I would put it in the same vein as like Silence of the Lambs,
Yeah, okay. If
a
you're into
movie like
those
that.
the creepy movies.
Yes, if
Yeah,
that's your
if you're
thing,
like,
then absolutely watch 1 hour photo. It comes very highly recommended by me because I
oh.
do like those. Um, and it's just my gut reaction to those comments was like, "What are you talking about?" But you go from the other side of the coin, and it's the internet. If I
Right.
put this picture there, now there is a picture of my girls online, and that'd be
Yeah.
easy enough to manipulate or do whatever. But it's really no different than if I was on Facebook and I put a picture to my, I guess Reddit's public and Facebook isn't, quote unquote, isn't. But like it's not hard to find anything that you want to find. And
Right.
I don't know, that really,
Wow, dude, that's crazy.
yeah, that
That's
just kind of
that seems fairly benign, but even so, like, yeah, maybe they had a point. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think
like
on
I'm
that
not
one.
taking, they're not strangers. These are my own children. So this is kind of off the beaten path of our topic, but
Right.
it if it was someone else's kids, like what if someone else took a picture of me standing in front of that
They
truck?
may have.
They may have because there was
Yeah.
other people there.
Right.
And so anyway, I wanted to put that out there. And then the other thing that's kind of in the middle of this for me, between oh, it's totally fine to take pictures and then the other
Mhm.
side of like I would makes me feel gross
Yeah.
is being a sports dad photographer.
Uh-huh.
This could be a whole different discussion. So I'll just drop the idea and we can be done with it. But it's that I take pictures of my own kids at the events. Let's say it's softball, right? And my 9-year-old is playing softball, and I make sure to go out on the side of the field and get some pictures of her batting every single time. Where does the line go between me doing that and then me taking pictures of every girl on the team batting and then sharing them back with the parents, especially after a few weeks where they know that I'm the guy with the camera
Yeah.
and maybe they want some of those or maybe they want a team photo.
Hmm.
There is there a little bit of an expectation? Am I supposed to keep track of which kids I'm okay to share back to the
Right.
team, or should I just not? I'm not asking these questions to you to talk about them, but I wanted
Hmm.
to idea vomit this out because
Yeah.
that's where my head goes, is that to me is like an in between of yeah, they're strangers in a sense, but I'm also slightly obligated because some of the parents have asked. She's like, hey, can you get a picture of my kid? They're going to bat next. And
Right.
where does that lie? I have no
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, Phil, that's it. These are what a topic. I'm curious what people think, listeners or viewers. So, um, well, shoot, man, we've been at this for quite a while. Only two questions, and look how much we've covered.
I
So,
like this.
I liked it. I like it too. It's a fun way to chat and hang out, and we should do it again.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
thank you. And I want to go back a little bit, break the fourth wall a little bit more with this. Um, I'm hopeful that this concept of not having to do prep time
Hmm.
and not having to plan a topic, so far in advance lets us do more of these
Yeah, I
uh,
hope so.
more often
Because then
instead
it's
of
really more about do we have a free evening in our
yeah,
schedule rather than do we have something to talk about?
exactly. Do we have a free evening? And because we're not doing prep work, we can just say, yeah, like next Tuesday, we've got an hour where both of us could do this. All
Sure.
right, let's grab our hats, let's talk, and then we'll put it online. So
All
that's
right.
kind of again where this whole thing goes for the show, for people that watch and listen, and hopefully that you enjoy this kind of thing, and we, let us know, and we can keep it up. So
Cool. Well, Phil, thanks. This is fun.
yeah,
I'm
thank you.
gonna hit the stop button on the recording,
Hit
and
it.
I guess we'll see you next time.
All right, thanks, Simon.